What is truly Scandinavian? According to the left-wing culture experts at Scandinavian Airlines, nothing. they don't think nothing is truly Scandinavian. And just to show you what kind of marketing geniuses they are, they thought they'd make a commercial out of that, thinking that it would cause you Danes and you Swedes to fly more on their airlines. We're going to take a look at the latest marketing disaster coming from the cultural literates over at Scandinavian Airlines. We're going to take a look at the commercial itself, and we're going to find out what's really going on here. I think you're going to absolutely love it. Greetings, everyone. It's so wonderful to be with you. A happy Friday to each and every one of you. If you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It'd be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel where we analyze current events in light of super awesome Scandinavian conservative trends so you can live with the present in light of even better things to come. Now, before we get into the commercial that rocked Scandinavia, I am excited to announce that we are bringing back, this is the return of a nationalist populist book bundle with swag. You sold us out of these puppies the last time we offered this package some months back, and we're making it available to you again. You'll get my 5 best books on the rise of nationalist populism going on throughout the world. You'll get my Return of Christendom. You'll get my The New Nationalism. You will get President Trump and our post-secular future. You will get The Triumph of Tradition, my personal favorite. And you get Uprising, how the Yellow Vest protests are overturning France and the globalist world order. And you also get a bunch of swag. You're going to get our Turley Talks tumbler. Isn't that beautiful? To put your coffee in. You're going to get your own executive bound journal here to take your notes in. And you even get a MAGA, Make America Great hat again, right? I actually like it better as a decoration on my bookshelf kind of thing. Now, you get it all at a discounted price, but supply is limited, so don't wait. Click on that link below and get your nationalist populist book bundle with swag today. And thanks so much for supporting this channel. All right, I don't know how many of you are aware of this story, but boy, is it fascinating. Here we go. Earlier this week, Scandinavian Airlines launched a new ad campaign on YouTube and other social media outlets that's provoked a massive backlash among Scandinavians. See it for yourself.
What is truly Scandinavian?
Grattis!
Absolutely nothing.
Nada.
Niente.
There is no such thing.
Everything is copied. Our
Vi
democracy,
människor som tillsammans formar framtiden.
credit goes to Greece. Parental leave,
Thank you, Switzerland.
the iconic Scandinavian windmills were actually invented in Persia. And we made the German bicycle a staple of our cities. It's Turkish.
What?
Smapple?
Dutch.
What about licorice?
It's Chinese. And
Midsommarstången?
German.
And it gets worse.
rumor has it the oh-so-Swedish meatballs might not be as Swedish as you think, but Turkish.
Even the Danish isn't Danish.
It's Austrian. And the pride of Norway, the paperclip, was actually invented by an American.
And while we're at it,
America, thank you for taking the first steps in empowering the women's rights movement. We're no better
Than our Viking ancestors.
We take everything we like on our trips abroad, adjust it a little bit, and
Voila!
it's a unique Scandinavian thing. Going out into the world inspires us to think big, even though we're quite small. Because every time we go beyond our borders, we add colors,
Innovation. Progress.
adding the best of everywhere to here. In a way, Scandinavia was brought here. Piece by piece. By everyday people who found the best of our home away from home. So, we can't wait to see what wonderful things you'll bring home next.
Yeah, whatever. So according to these marketing execs over at Scandinavian Airlines, nothing is truly Scandinavian. And then the commercial funnels out all of these ridiculous stereotypes: Swedish meatballs, Danish pastries, windmills, and they're all one by one discredited, right? They're all exposed as being inherently foreign to the Scandinavian people. Now, it's clearly a pro-globalist, pro-immigration commercial. The Swedish Democrats or the Danish People's Party would not put a commercial like this together by any stretch of the imagination. It's clearly pro-globalist propaganda. But the really, really cool thing here is that if the creators of this commercial were under the illusion that Scandinavians would just sit back and let their culture be tarnished and denigrated in this way, they were in for a very, very rude awakening. A massive backlash ensued, led by the nationalist populist parties like the Danish People's Party. One leader there said that the ad spit on everything that was genuinely Danish. The Swedish Democrats came out and denounced the ad as a perfect example of self-hatred and devilish nonsense. And it became pretty clear quickly that Scandinavian Airlines had provoked a hornet's nest. And so they very, very quickly pulled the ad, but not before the damage was done. And then, astonishingly, a few hours later, just to show you how brazen they are, they put up a highly edited, sanitized version of the ad. They shut down the comment section on YouTube, and they issued this statement: "When we travel, we influence our surroundings and we are influenced by others. The experiences we bring back from our travels inspire us as individuals, but also our society." What is truly Scandinavian? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's all borrowed. But all we're trying to say is that when we travel, we influence our surroundings and are influenced by others. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what we call a textbook example of bullshit. Okay? That explanation is complete and total bullshit. Here's what's really going on. And to make matters even worse, I'll be remiss, the Copenhagen marketing company responsible for the ad ended up receiving bomb threats. Oh my heavens. I mean, it just... talk about an abject disaster. But alas, if their marketing instincts are any indicator of their expertise in cultural anthropology, all of these guys involved have proven themselves to be absolute dunces. And they are. Look, this really isn't hard. We all know what Scandinavian Airlines did in this ridiculous commercial. They exemplified something that we now have a word for. It's a very interesting word. It's called ecophobia, right? Do you know that word? It's spelled O-I-K-O phobia. It comes from the Greek word ekos, which means house or home or household, right? It's the same word we use for economy, ecophobia. Okay? Ecophobia, simply put, is the hatred of one's own, right? Just to be blunt. It's despising and disdaining one's home, one's surroundings. The late classical philosopher Sir Roger Scruton defined it this way. Ecophobia, he said, is the felt need to denigrate the customs, culture, and institutions that are identifiably ours. Okay, this is what's known as ecophobia. Learned a new word today, some of you, right? And it's become a very distinctive feature of globalization and globalized sentiments. And that's because globalization involves what we call disembedding dynamics. That's a very important thing to note here. Disembedding involves various mechanisms by which localized customs, cultures, and traditions are relativized to wider economic, scientific, and technocratic forces. And the gist of it is that once social life is caught up into a globalized, industrialized economic system, it's propelled away from traditional, cultural, and local practices and beliefs. And so what this means is that in the shadow of globalized transnational policies, traditional moral codes and customs, they've just become increasingly implausible and hard to sustain. And so it's through this process known as disembedding that globalized societies end up getting what we call detraditionalized. They eventually lose their cultures, customs, and traditions as such are replaced with consumer-based lifestyle values. And the important point here is that now these newly emancipated lifestyle values, they tend to see the old cultures, customs, and traditions as inherently bad because they're now considered impediments to sovereign individuals exercising their own autonomous control over their own lives. So disparaging Western culture, custom, and tradition is now considered to be an important sentiment and indeed rhetoric among globalist populations. It shows that you're hip and that you know what you're talking about, you know what's going on, right? So this is the origin of ecophobia. Globalization entails disembedding dynamics that propel societies away from distinctive cultures, customs, and traditions, and in the process actually teaches populations to despise and disdain their own cultures, customs, and traditions as impediments to their own self-actualization, their own self-autonomy. Now, I think that the size and the intensity of the backlash against Scandinavian Airlines is very, very good news. I think there's a growing understanding, however, muddled, however impeded, but there is a growing understanding that culture, custom, and tradition are actually indispensable to human flourishing and human society. And that those institutions that seek to denigrate culture are indeed very real threats and are therefore very legitimate objects of scorn and derision. In other words, I think we're beginning to see the same scorn and derision that globalists have for traditional culture now getting pointed right back at them. More and more people are rejecting the globalist rejection of culture, okay? And that's because more and more people recognize, again, however tacitly, that culture is indispensable to human flourishing. And it's therefore worthy of being revered and honored and protected. Culture holds society together by giving every generation the privilege of encountering those things that matter in and of themselves as their own enriching rewards. Culture isn't pragmatic. Culture isn't there to prove its worth to you, that it's worth your time. Culture is instead something of which none of us are worthy. Culture preserves unique visions of the true, the good, and the beautiful that give to us the literature, art, architecture, music, and poetry and dance that collectively enables our truest sense of humanity to blossom and to flourish. This is what makes globalization so utterly pernicious and despicable. It degenerates precisely what it ought to defend. And as such, we're beginning to see more and more populations turning away from globalism. You see, by failing to defend that which is most worthy of defense, globalists shouldn't be surprised to find that fewer and fewer people are willing to defend them. And so the pulling of this commercial may indeed be rather symbolic of the eventual demise of globalism itself. Now, before you go, we put up a great video on Angela Merkel's nightmare scenario going on right now. Her hand-picked successor has resigned, and now her arch nemesis may take control of her political party in the future of Germany. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.